Hi, I'm Max. I'm the creator behind Eat the Rich Art. I use he, him and they, them pronouns, and here is a Panic Pride market prepping edition of what I made this week. I have a market this weekend. I sold the vast majority of my Pride stock at a market 2 weeks ago, so I'm now having to restock it and also work on some other things for my own mental health at the same time. So, to start with, this week, I ended last week's video with 2 big whips, I think. They are no longer whips. If you're not familiar with crochet terms, a whip is a work in progress. Yes, the two whips are finished. They are no longer in progress. They are done, which I'm very happy with myself that I managed to get both of them done on Monday. As much as it did hurt my hands, and I probably shouldn't have, I did. So that was this big chunky clown by, I just literally got it up, KD Crochet 0603. So as you can see, he's huge. I thought he'd be smaller than the Quinn the Solemn pattern. He's not. He's massive. This used a decent chunk of yarn up, which I am not complaining about. So he used up exactly 250 grams of yarn, 29 grams of the red, 23 grams of the cream, 64 grams of the white sparkle, and 134 grams of the lovely blue. And yeah, he's massive. His head's a little wonky because he's been shoved in a bag of stuff that I need to test. But I'd say it's a decent pattern. Don't do it if you've not got time, because it's a yarn sucker and a time sucker. It's quite a lot of bits. So you make the arms and the legs first and crochet them in. I'm pretty sure you go straight up into the head. Yeah, you do. You go straight up into the head from the body. So that bit's all no-sew. You have to sew on the ruffle. Well, they suggest you tie it on, but obviously the rules over here are quite strict on things like that. So I sewed mine on, and the hat is also sewn on. Everything on the hat is surface crocheted. You can make the bobble for the hat separately and sew it on. Same with the stitches, the buttons, you can make them separately and sew them on, but I just surface crocheted a bobble stitch. Same for the nose, they do ask you to make that separately, but I just did a surface crochet bobble stitch, because by the time I was getting to adding all of the little red bits, I was so done with this pattern. My wrists were hurting, I'd used a lot of yarn, I was tired. I just wanted to move on to the other big project that I was doing, because that was giving me a lot more joy and dopamine. I'm happy with the way this guy turned out, but I don't think I'll be making him again, really. These are 25mm eyes. They were meant to be glitter discs, but I had to colour them in black because I didn't have any big enough eyes in just plain black, and I liked the way that looked. So that is the clown. This is a free Instagram pattern, so I will make sure that the spreadsheet is updated, because I've tried a couple of new patterns this week, so I will add those on. But that's that guy. The other whip I had at the end of last week was this Grandana cowl. I can't actually fit it all on camera, so I will pop a video of me wearing it up, or a photo. But just as a sort of show, that's what it looks like. So it's got like a sort of big bibby bit, and then a nice cozy neck. This is gorgeous. I really love the way this yarn's worked up. This is the Knitco Fantasy Aran. They've not got colour names, they've got colour numbers, colour 6. And it's just beautiful, honestly. I've made this for a friend who loves the colour purple. They are very much a purple person. So I feel like this has a lot of different tones of purple in. It's got a little bit of teal, and a little bit of pink for funsies. But it is mostly purples, and they will really like that. So I also love how there is a bit of white throughout, so it stays cohesive and not too harsh on the eyes. But I really enjoyed making it. That took just over a skein and a half of yarn to make, and they're 200-gram skeins, so that took, where is it? I started it before a lot of the things last week, so it's back up a bit. There it is, 331 grams of yarn to make this guy. The other thing I did on Monday was very much a whips day, where I just worked on everything I had ongoing, which does include, if you've been on the channel for a while, the ducks. We're still working through the skein of sky blue, so we have another 7. Oh, they're falling everywhere. Another 7 sky blue ducks. I did have a bit of a panic this week because I counted up all the ducks and I was like, I'm 2 behind. I've been making 7 every week, or I thought I had. How am I 2 behind on my goal? So I was like, I'm gonna have to make like 9 ducks this week to get back up to it, but I'd just left them in a bag that I'd taken somewhere else, the extra 2, so I didn't have to make the extra 2 in the end, which was nice. So this does bring us up to 54, 56 ducks, I think, in total in the bag. It's getting a bit more full now. I reckon this bag will probably hold about 200 ducks, maybe a few more, we will see. So today's job is doing this week's 7, which will take us to 63 ducks. It's crazy to think it's been 9 weeks since download. That's insane. But that was what I did Monday. So Monday was the getting all of my ongoing projects done so that I could then focus for the rest of this week on Pride Market prep. That's what I've done. So briefly, before I get into all of the Pride stuff, I showed this guy a couple of weeks ago. The pattern's out now, so I will also make sure that that's linked in the spreadsheet. So go and check this pattern out. It's on Ribbler. It's by Life with Danny. I think it's free. It'll say in the spreadsheet if it's not. Really fun pattern, definitely. Give it a go if you do Comic-Cons, things like that, or just generally if there's someone in your life who likes the Amazing Digital Circus. He was fun. So I didn't make that this week, but I did say I'd show it again when the pattern's out, and the pattern is out now, so there we go, Jack's is done. Right, this week, so on Tuesday I went over to my parents, had a bit of time there. I've been teaching my mum to crochet, which you would know if you've been following the channel, and she asked if there was anything. Well, she asked for some help with continuing to learn to crochet, but she also asked if there was anything she could do to help me, so that was quite nice. We had a good morning there. My nan helped as well. We got quite a lot done. So I made a whale, and that was the one remaining whale that we needed to do because we'd waited for the the yarn order to come in, so that I had the right yarns for the pansexual and trans flags. So let me just get everything out of the bag so that I can show you the things that are in the bag. 1 pan whale. Then the other thing that I needed to do was some frogs. So I made 4, I think. Let's double check this. Oh, the whale used 7 grams of yarn, 2 grams of sky blue, 2 grams baby pink, 2 grams lemon yellow, and 1 gram of white. Beans the frog, we've made 4. Which 4 did we make? Those 3 and that one. Yeah, so then I cracked through frogs. So we have 1 trans frog. He took 9 grams, I think, of yarn. No, he only took 6. It is crazy to me that these can take the same amount as a keychain. I don't know how that works, but here we are. 2 grams sky blue, No, that's still the whale. No, that is the frog. 2 grams of sky blue, 2 grams baby pink, and 2 grams of white for that one. Then the next one was this frog. That took 9 grams of yarn, 2 grams of sky blue, 2 grams of white, 2 grams of dark turquoise, 3 grams of sage, and 1 gram of dark teal, which now that I'm looking at it, I've done my maths wrong. That's 10 grams of yarn, not 9. Well done me. I'm so good at maths. But yeah, it definitely varies quite a lot with the frogs on how much yarn they take. Which is weird, because like I do weigh my yarn after everything. So I'm getting like an accurate view of how much each thing takes, but I don't know. Speaking of which, this guy took 12 grams of yarn because the rainbow stuff always takes more because it's more colours, so there's more ends and stuff. But this guy took 2 grams of every colour, I think. No, 2 grams lilac, 2 grams dark turquoise, 2 grams yellow, 1 gram of orange, 1 gram of red, and 4 grams of green for some reason. Just a very dense ball of green. And then the final frog we made was a pan frog, and that took 8 grams of yarn, 2 grams of blue, 2 grams of pink, and 4 grams of yellow, which makes sense because the yellow is the girthiest part of the frog. So that was Tuesday. That was the stuff I got done on my own while I was teaching Mum to crochet. Then the other thing I got done while I was there was we got started on prepping some cappies. So let's budge a few things over. I've made 7 capybaras this week, and that's a bit crazy for me. So I already had some of the flags made from a couple weeks ago when I was doing my Pride Market prep series, because if I had a flag, if I needed a flag in a certain colour, I'd do it while I was doing everything else for that flag. Which meant that the flags for the MB one, the rainbow one, this spy one, and I think that's it, were already made. Notice I said this spy one, and that's because I made a mistake, but I'll tell you about that in a sec. So I got my mum on, some of these are a little wonky, whoops. I got my mum on making feet, noses and ears for me. Started her on feet, and then we realised that her tension was a bit off on them, so it was sort of, we were having to frog back and redo sort of every other foot. So moved her off feet onto noses and ears because it works better for flat pieces if you've got a slightly looser tension anyway. Stops them curling in on each other, and it doesn't really matter if the ears are slightly gappy because I still can't stick my finger through them, but it doesn't really affect like stuffing poking out or anything. So she helped me make noses and ears. Then when I got home, finished all of the dark brown things off, so all of the ears, noses and feet were done on Tuesday. Then my nan came at some point and asked for something fairly simple to do to help because she knows how to crochet, she's familiar with it, but she doesn't do in the round. She's only ever done the flat, and if I already had Mum on one side that I was trying to help learn things, so doing 2 and trying to make things myself wasn't really going to work. So I gave her flags for cappies, but my problem was I was working on the frogs and the whale while I was trying to help between things, so there was some colours I was actually using. So I asked her to make me a bi flag because I'd looked at my list and went, oh yeah, I've got the colours for the bi flag that you can use that I'm not using currently. And then I realised when I got home that I'd already made a bi flag at a different point. So I do have 2 bi cappies, and that's the only one that I've got 2 of. The rest I've only got 1 of. So I will stop rambling on. The last sort of, I think it took me then until Friday, I did about 2 a day to get all of the cappies done, and then we moved on to teddy bears. So stop rambling on and tell you how much yarn things used. So it was about there was when I made the flags. So we're starting with the rainbow one. Where's the rainbow one gone? So this one took 5 grams of red, 2 grams tangerine, 2 grams of yellow, 2 grams of apple green, 2 grams dark turquoise, 3 grams of lilac, 1 gram of white, 14 grams of rust, and 60 grams of vanilla fudge. So the cappies take anywhere between about 90 and about 110 grams of yarn, depending on flag, depending on whether I've added an extra row to the body by accident. It happens sometimes, like a variety of things, but it's usually the flags that impact the weight of the cappy. Then we had the brightly coloured by flag took 102 grams, so that was 5 grams of lilacs, 9 grams of candy floss, 12 grams of dark turquoise, because the dark turquoise is always really dense for some reason. It always takes so much more dark turquoise than anything else, and I don't know why, but it's been an ongoing pattern that I've noticed. 2 grams of white, 14 grams of rust, and 60 grams of vanilla fudge for that one. Then we had the non-binary one that took 4 grams of lemon yellow, 3 grams of lilac, 6 grams of black, 6 grams of white, 14 grams of rust, and 60 grams of vanilla fudge. So this one took 93 grams. The by one took 102. And then we move down to the ones I've made more recently. The other by one took 89 grams. So see, we're just kind of all over the shop, really. So this one was 6 grams of baby pink, 4 grams of lilac, 2 grams of white, 7 grams dark turquoise, 15 grams of rust, and 55 grams of vanilla fudge. So a slightly less dense ball of vanilla fudge. Shove them in the bag. Where am I? Lesbians. The lesbian one took 96 grams in total, so 6 grams of baby pink, 6 grams of white, 3 grams tangerine, 4 grams carrot, 4 grams candy floss, 15 grams of rust, and 58 grams of vanilla fudge. That's the wrong one. This one, trans one, took... I'm gonna actually just put my cursor on the right one because that makes it easier. 92 grams in total. 5 grams of sky blue, 6 grams of baby pink, 6 grams of white, 15 grams of rust, and 60 grams of vanilla fudge. And then final capybara took 89 grams. So 5 grams of sky blue, 6 grams of baby pink, 6 grams lemon yellow, 2 grams of white, 15 grams of rust, 55 grams of vanilla fudge. That was all of the capybaras. So, like I said, that took until about Friday for me to get all of those done. That was a long, hard slog, to be perfectly honest. But it's done, which means that I can focus on smaller things this week. Well, sort of. I'm doing smaller things in that I'm doing a bunch of axolotls, but I also would like to do a baby penguin and a wizard cat. So I'm doing small things to start this week and then big things to finish this week. I also need to do a turtle. We will see. Then Saturday and Sunday. Saturday I went out to see a theatre show because my sister was taking it and she did a great job. In fact, she was stage managing it. I won't play it down. She's great. She's fantastic at being bossy and I'm very glad that she's making a career of it. So if anyone needs a tech or a stage manager for some reason, she's happy to travel, just pay her. And yeah, she is fantastic. So that was really cool. And honestly, you think if you're going to see a group of kids do a show like Hadestown, you're always a bit wary, realistically, because that's a hard show vocally to pull off. It's a hard show in terms of your emotional and acting depth to pull off. It's very complex themes, it's very complex music, it's very complex acting, it's very complex like movement. There's a lot of things going on. There's a few very quick changes. but those kids pulled it off. Like, genuinely fantastic show. And the kid they got to play Hades, goddamn, he had a low voice for a teenager. That was, yeah, his vocal performance was insane. So, really wicked show. But that did mean that we had to go on a bit of a road trip, and my mum drove, which meant that I got to crochet. I actually only have one of the things that I was making with me. My nan was helping again, bless her, she's great. But I made 2 lesbian hoodie bears. I only have one here because one of them has already been sent to a customer. They messaged me Friday and said, hey, I bought a lesbian hoodie bear from you at Leamington. Could I have another, please? I said, yeah, wicked. Sounds good. So, yeah, I got an order for a lesbian hoodie bear. So I thought, you know what, I need to make one for the table anyway. I'll just batch make them together. That way I'm only taking one set of colours in the car with me. And 2 hoodie bears will be plenty for the amount of driving we needed to do. So I ended up putting my nan on making the hoods. I started her off, I did all of the light increasing and stuff, and then once it got to the point where you just crochet in the round, I gave it to my nan and said, right, it needs two rows of white, 2 rows of orange. Have at it. For both of the flags. And then while she was doing that, I made the legs, which meant then when she was done with the hoods, I could give her the bodies to do, so that I could focus on making the arms, because she was sat in the front of the car and I was sat in the back, so it's quite hard to give detailed instructions. So any bits that I had where it was just going around a little bit, I just gave her those. But that was really helpful. That meant I got 2 lesbian hoodie bears done while I was out, plus the legs for a third. And then yesterday, in between doing various house stuff and inventory and all sorts, made trans hoodie bear and a rainbow hoodie bear. This is all the pattern by Nooks Hooks. My capybara is my pattern, the frogs are by the girl who knots, and I freehanded the whale. Forgot to say all of that. So the lesbians, I just weighed the yarn afterwards and divided it by 2 rather than doing it per bear, because then I didn't have to take my scales in the car and I wasn't sure the reading was going to be that accurate anyway. So that's how I did these. So both lesbian hoodie bears took 89 grams, vaguely. 8 grams tangerine, 10 grams carrot, 15 grams of candy floss, 8 grams baby pink, 39 grams of latte, and 9 grams of white each. Then the trans hoodie bear took 22 grams of sky blue, 14 grams of baby pink, 9 grams of white, and 43 grams of latte. That was 88 grams. And then the rainbow hoodie bear took 92 grams in total. Again, rainbow just takes more because there's more ends. So 44 grams of latte, 11 grams of lilac, 7 grams of dark turquoise, 7 grams of apple green, 8 grams of lemon yellow, 6 grams of tangerine, and 9 grams of red. And that is pretty much all of the big pride stuff that I need to bulk make done. So the only thing left to bulk make is axolotls. The only thing that is big left that I'm not bulk making is the wizard cat and the penguin. Like I said, I'd like to make a turtle with a peachy shell, so it's lesbian, because I've only got one of those left and I'd like 2. But if I don't get around to that, it's not the end of the world. I want to focus on the things that will make me a bigger amount of money first. And that is where we are at for this week. So that was an insane amount of plushies. So we've finished a wearable, finished a plushie, not necessarily started those this week. Then we made 1 keychain, 4 small plushies, and a grand total of 11 medium to large plushies, which I think is a bit insane, plus the 7 ducks. That's a lot in a week. So that's 21 finished projects this week, most of which have been quite large. I'm very proud of myself for that. Very, very proud of myself for that. I'm feeling it, don't get me wrong. My wrists are aching, but I'm happy with the progress for this week. So, today's plan is ducks. The rest of the week's plan is mostly axolotls, and I will be back probably Friday to show you everything that I've made before I go to the Pride Market. But you will see that all next Monday. Thank you very much for watching. All of this will actually be available on my store this week. It's very nice to have people that want to help me and don't mind that I can't actually pay them to help me, which is good. The life of a small business, pulling anyone in to help. And I will be running a sweatshop this week to try and get all of this tagged as well. Anyway, editing Max here. Sorry, I was really tired when I filmed this video, so I've realised that I didn't actually say words. The reason I've said it's very nice to have people that want to help me is because my fiance is updating my curfew stuff for me. So if you would like to know when in the week that ends up getting done, follow me on Instagram and I will update there to say when it's done. I will let earlier this morning Max do the outro now. What was I saying? Yeah, thank you for watching. All of this will be available on my store by Friday. So if you would like any of it, yeah, you can buy it if you're in the UK. I cannot currently ship to the US or Europe because of new rules that have come in and absolutely decked small businesses. I think I can ship to Australia, Canada, South America and Africa and most of Asia still. So if you're in any of those places, I can ship to you. I just can't ship to the US or Europe without going through a lot of stuff to do that. Sorry. I'm not even meant to be selling my patterns to Europe at the moment. I'm working out what I want to do about that, but yeah. Fun being a small business, so fun. Anyway. Enough of a ramble about that. Store restocked. Not today, but by Friday's video it will be restocked. Like, subscribe if you want to see more of this. I upload one of these every Monday between 12 and 2, and then I upload market prep vlogs, market vlogs, market recaps, yarn reviews, pattern reviews, challenges. I'll be doing some stash busting in September. All of those go up on Fridays between 12 and 2 UK time as well. Liking and subscribing very much helps the channel, and they're both free for you to do. If you would like to be notified when I upload a video, hit the notification bell and YouTube will hopefully tell you when I've uploaded. It's not always the most reliable, so always check your subscription feed as well, but that's how you get notified if I've uploaded. Like, share, subscribe, hype if you can hype. I don't think people can hype on my channel, but if it's there, please do. It's very helpful in the algorithm. My other social medias are also linked down below where my store is linked, so if you would like to see a bit more of an up-to-date view of what I'm doing, those are down there. And that is everything I have to say. So drop some form of bear emoji in the comments if you got this far. Thank you again for watching and have a nice day.